Good afternoon. Welcome to the budget workshop for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. This meeting is going to be organized just like a regular board meeting. So, Bob, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. And I'd like all of us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The budget workshop is held every year as an opportunity for the Finance Committee to put all of their hard work together and communicate to the board what they feel should be the 2026-27 fiscal year annual budget. We will listen to the comments from the Finance Committee, and the board will ask questions as the presentations go on. At the very end of the meeting, if there's anyone in the audience who has a comment, you can make a comment and it'll go on the record. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our illustrious treasurer, Chuck Gordon.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, my board colleagues. And thank you, members of the community. I want to first thank my Finance Committee team, and we are a team. We work very positively and collaboratively with each other. First, I'll go over and announce who the presenters are going to be today. We're going to have Shirley Brose. She's going to be doing administrative and taxes. Jerry Stein at the end. He's going to be presenting landscaping and community events. And we have Paul Nelson. And Paul's going to be speaking about gate entry and patrol part of the budget and utilities. And of course, we have the wonderful Wendell Jackson, who's going to be doing clubhouse operations, repair, and maintenance. I also want to take this moment to present Mary Ellen Glantz. She won't be presenting today, but she is a major part of the committee. She's a huge help to me, and she's one of the leaders on this committee. Is one of our C certified public accountants, and also one of the newest member of our committee, Jim Self, who we're very much looking forward to working with. And also Shirley Brose is also a CPA, and she's provided me a lot of mentorship and guidance over the years. So without further ado, let's start working on getting into the presentation itself. And we'll go over some of the slides. We're going to start off by going with the budget process. Essentially, there's three phases: the development phase, the evaluation phase, and the final phase. We'll take a look at the development phase here. This is the initial stage of the budget. It often occurs in November, December of the prior calendar year. PCM management team review vendor contracts and prepare the initial budget assumptions for the first draft of the budget. Anthony Reynoso handles facilities and landscape, and there's multiple vendors in which he's in charge of, including the landscape contract. Ken Knapp does property services and the vendors attached to that. Kara Hardy is our recreation director. She handles a number of vendors. And Kimberly Evans handles the administrative part of the budget, where there are several vendors. And Jim Morgan, our general manager, he handles the more sensitive aspects of the administrative budget concerning salary and staff and general legal counsel. Once that is done and the budget assumptions come my way and to Jim's way, I go ahead and put together the first draft, and then I meet with Jim and we kind of go through it and we massage it, the line items. And once we have completed that, we bring it over to the Finance Committee, and that is now going into the evaluation phase. So the first draft budget is submitted to the Finance Advisory Committee. Now, on our line items, we start basically from zero. Instead of rolling over the prior budget and just saying, well, we're just going to add 5% next year or 3% or whatever the cost of living index is. No, we go over every single line in that budget. It's a very painstaking process. The committee reviews each expense and revenue source based on performance in the current fiscal year. In this case, it was up through December, which is 8 months. Every single cost and every single line in our budget we have to justify. Each expense must be explained and deemed necessary, ensuring funds are allocated efficiently. We also try to align our budget with priorities and necessities, and the community. We want to make sure that it ensures that the community's needs are being met rather than just looking at historical spending patterns. We want to make sure that the current and future needs of the colony are being met adequately by the budget. We encourage cost savings. The committee questions every expense line to identify areas where unnecessary costs may be trimmed, and we have done so in several of the line items. Conversely, the committee identifies expenses that are deemed underfunded and need to be increased, and there were a few of those as well. The committee then finalizes the proposed budget for the board. We go through and we redo the narratives to make sure they line up with the numbers, and that budget is what's coming to the board today. And that happens to be the final phase of the budget as far as the process goes, where it goes before the board. The board will evaluate the budget. And where the budget, whether or not the budget and the line items are appropriate and merits adjustments or approval. Further adjustments have been made in the past based on the weigh-in of the board. We have done that before. Once that is done, we have a little bit of time between now and when the open session board meeting is. If there are any adjustments to be made, we'll have plenty of time to do them. The final budget, whether there's no changes, it won't be done today. There will be no approval today, but it'll be done at the open session board meeting, which will be in about a week or so. And that is basically your final budget. Let's go into the first slide as we start to get into the nitty-gritty of the budget. So this is our operating expense budget, which pretty much drives our budget and our assessments. As you can see, this shows where the money is going on our budget. And on the top part on the left, on your left line under the annual column, that's where the budget is being allocated to each section of the budget. Administrative has the largest quantity of dollars going to it, equivalent to $104 of our monthly assessments. Landscaping is second with $1,917,000. Revenues are in third position, $1,324,000. Reserves, what did I say? Revenue. Oh, I'm sorry. Reserves. I better put my glasses on. Okay. Yeah, it's reserves are basically in third position as far as where our money is going on this budget. Then we have gate entry and patrol, golf course subsidy, utilities, clubhouse operations, repair and maintenance, community events, and then at the bottom is taxes. And then, so the monthly assessments in the aggregate on our expense budget is $368, but it is offset by our other income, which is a good thing, $12. So our monthly assessments proposed for the next budget is $356. So our safety net's going to rise on our equity. For those of you that are not familiar, our equity is on our balance sheet, and it shows the excess cash that we have that's not promised anywhere else. And where we want to have a goal is to hit that $1,458,690 mark, if we can. 5% of the gross expenses is equivalent to $350,000. Next slide. So this is a slide that Kathy likes, and she likes to see bar charts. It's a visual. So as you see on the white section of the pie on the top, 28.2%, that's the biggest piece of the pie for administrative, followed by landscaping, 27.4 in the red, and then in the green, we have reserves that are coming in at 19%. Now, one thing I'd call your attention to, there's a very small sliver on the left side of the pie, which is golf course subsidy. It's only 4.3% of the budget. Yet it has a major impact, as we'll get into a little bit later. So the next slide. So this is our budget comparison, our current budget versus our new budget. Now on the left side is our current budget. We have operating expenses of about 6.9 million, other income of about 238. So our owner assessments are 6.6 million, and we have a 348 assessment that we're currently paying on monthly. Now the new budget's going to bring our operating expenses up to 7 million. We do have a decrease in other income. We're expecting less income in the next future budget, next fiscal year. So that actually is impacting our assessments to the tune of $12,000, and the right column is showing the net differences. So the increase in operating expenses is going up about 140,000. The decrease in other income is adding another 12. So our owner assessments are going to be 152,000. That's what the annual owner assessments, the variance, the change, the increase is going to be. That amounts to about $96 per home for the year, under $100. And that converts to $8 an increase in monthly assessments, or 2.3% for the next fiscal budget. Again, this is our proposal to the board where we are seeking approval. Next page. So, what went up and what went down? This is the what went up and what went down slide. And this shows how did we get to that $8. It's based on variances. It's based on items that are going up, compared against and offset against items that are going down. These are the major categories. Well, as you can see, the biggest impact on our $8 assessment is the golf course. We're proposing an increase from the last budget of $50,000. That's equivalent to $2.63, or 33% of the $8 owner assessment proposed increase. The next one is landscaping. Now, we have factored in a 3% increase on the next budget for landscape, even though this contract is going out to bid. So we don't really have the detailed information of what the next bid is going to be. For all we know, it could come in potentially less. But we have conferred with Anthony, who's pretty much on top of the landscape budget, and he knows about the bidding process very well, and he believes that putting in 3% is relatively safe. And that is exactly what we did. And it could be less. But that's driving the increase of $8 to the tune of over $2, $2.17, or 27.2%. Reserves are also going up. And that's driving at $1.36. So those three categories that I just mentioned, golf course subsidy, landscaping reserves, that's over $6. That's 75% of the $8 assessment, right then and there. Those three items. Next page. So this is a slide. This is a bar chart that shows you what it looks like on our assessments. Expense side. I failed to mention though that another driver of the $8 assessments is the reduction in other income. It's going down, so that results in about 64 cents towards the assessment, the $8 assessment, or 8%. This particular bar chart that you're looking at doesn't have the income, but it just shows the expenses, with the golf course being on the left, 50,000 is the tallest bar. Then you have landscaping, reserves, utilities, and so on. So that basically is your presentation. It gives you a snapshot, before we go into the detail, of how we got to from the 348 rather, current assessment, and how we got to the proposed new assessment of 356, which is an increase of $8. That was your snapshot. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the budget itself and the various line items. We're going to start out with administrative, and Shirley Brose is going to lead the charge.
Kind of procedural. Can I ask one question?
Yes, of course.
Can we ask questions at each one?
I think it would be a good idea, because you want to do it while the
at each line
information's on
item.
the screen.
Ask a question at each line item, not waiting for the end.
Yeah, I think so.
Like if I have a question on dues and subscriptions, when
Sure,
Shirley gets
sure.
there, I can ask the question. All right.
It would make sense while you're talking about it.
He's having fun being on the other side this year.
Yes, absolutely. Is it on? Okay. All right, we start out with line number 19,
You're gonna have to
which is
just
bad
get
debts.
closer.
And this actually is not an expense, it's thank you.
You can't turn your mics off, people.
This line actually is lost revenue rather than an expense. We account for the revenues from each house each month, and then they are claimed as revenue and they go into a receivable account. But if someone does not pay that amount that month, then we sometimes have to write it off as a bad debt. And that's what this line represents, is what we accrue each month to be able to have enough on our balance sheet to write off those items which have not been received from our owners. So last year it was 10,000. We're going up to 12,000 this year. We are, in our delinquencies, we're growing, and so we want to make sure that there's enough in the budget to write off any delinquencies that the board deems uncollectible. Line 20 is the Emergency Preparedness Committee. They were at 4,000 last year. We've reduced that to 1,000. They do require funds to purchase supplies, but there's a possibility that they'll be reorganized this year and their financial needs may go down quite a bit. Line 21 is the Production and Technology Advisory Committee expense. It was 3,000 last year. It's going up to 4,000 this year. It is supplies, equipment, training materials. The board recently met with the committee and received their proposed budget, and they did approve that budget going up $1,000. Line 22 is bank charges. This covers hard costs incurred by the association for miscellaneous bank charges, and it's a very small amount. Last year it was $500, this year it's $800, but we are running slightly above budget, so we did increase it. Line 20.
What is he doing? Jeez.
Line 23 is for committees. We did not change that. It was 7,000 last year. It's 7,000 this year. And this primarily covers the annual volunteer appreciation lunches. Line 24 is board expense. It, again, was 7,000 last year. It is 7,000 this year. It covers the board education opportunities. It also covers meals, miscellaneous refreshments, and expenses at our board meetings. Line 25 is decorations. It remains at 10,000, which it was last year. The amount covers our December holiday exterior and interior decor, our trim-a-tree, our beautiful tree, and the Easter holiday decor. and it is largely a contracted, predetermined expense, so it will remain at $10,000 in this year's budget. Line 26 is dues, subscriptions, and certifications. It was $8,000. In the current year, it's going down to $6,000 in our proposed budget. And there are about 15 line items, which I am not going to read. There are such things as software, Chamber of Commerce, Sam's Club, etc. And they are running just slightly below budget, so we did decrease that amount for the new year. Line 27 is delinquency charges, and this is the hard cost billed to the association for collection of work performed by our management company for those people who have not paid their bills. The work done to collect these delinquencies is charged to us. That amount last year was $7,000. It is $7,000 again this year. There are times, often, when we can collect that money back from people who did not pay their bills when the bills are settled. Not every time. Line 28 is office equipment expense, office equipment maintenance, and this covers the cost of our copy machine lease, and it covers any lease repairs that are outside the contract. We are trending over the budget for the first 8 months, so we are increasing it from $25,000 to $27,500. Line 29 is office supplies. We are trending under the proposed the budget for this year, and so the proposed budget will be $5,000 less, moving from $20,000 down to $15,000. And those are just the office supplies that is needed for every desk that is in this building that supports us. Line 30 is record storage. This is a standard fee for permanent records that we pay. It's just $600, but it is required, and it's based on a contract. Line 31 is the reserve study, and this has gone down this year from $6,000 to the proposed budget of $4,000. Because the Davis-Sterling Act requires that every homeowner association performs a reserve study that is on site every 3 years. That was last year. So this year it's an update, and so the expense to do that reserve study work is less. So we moved it from $6,000 down to $4,000. Line 32 is election services. We moved it up slightly from $9,000 to $9,500, just anticipating an inflationary escalation. These people have been doing the election work for us since 2020, and the board is happy with their service. So we are anticipating that they will remain with us to do the election services. Line 33 is miscellaneous, and every accountant that I know hates that word. But we do need a line that allows us to post an unbudgeted, unexpected amount that we incur throughout the year so that we don't harm the other line items. If we posted a big bill into utilities, for instance, that it really wasn't budgeted there, then that budget would be off and we'd have to explain it. So we put a line item in called miscellaneous that is required for anything unbudgeted and unexpected, and we left it at $12,000, and we have no expenses in that item this year. Line 34 is contingency, and we're going to leave the contingency at $20,000, and it's a safety cost for, again, anything that is unforeseen and a large item that is not foreseen that we incur throughout the year. Thank you. Line 35 is printing and copying. We leave it at $30,000 unchanged, and it includes all the copying in the HOA office. It also includes any off-site copying that we require for mailings, and much of that expense is incurred later in the year. Line 36 is postage. We're trending under the budget for this year. We're going to leave it at $18,000 because, again, as we do those large mailings, like for our audit and the budget, then they are done at the back half of the year, so we will see those expenses incurred. Line 37 is community management staffing. It went from 1,362,000 down to 1,353,000, and it reflects a 4% increase in hourly staff, but it also reflects a decrease of $8,900, which is primarily due to the consolidation of 2 staff positions into 1. So it's a savings over our current year that's proposed. Line 38 is insurance premiums. You can see that this is a big escalation going for $130,000 up to $164,000. But I think most everyone understands that there are going to be seen some very large insurance increases because of the wildfires, fires, but also our D&O liability and our umbrella liability policies will increase as well. So that's why we budgeted the extra $34,000 or 26% increase for the proposed year. Line 39, insurance claims, a small amount, $2,000, will remain at $2,000, and these are sufficient to cover any claims that could incur outside of our insurance coverage. Line 40 is telephone services, and we're trending under the budget for 8 months, so we will leave that budget at $10,000, the same as last year, in case we have any escalations from the telephone companies in the new budget year. Line 41 is internet services, leaving that at $12,000. This line covers the internet services that is required for the day-to-day operations by the association. That's the Jackson Gatehouse, the Cal Oaks Gate, the Nutmeg Gate, the Clubhouse, and any T-Mobile lines that are in our buildings. Line 42 is permits and licenses. This is moving up from $3,480 to $19,000. The majority of that is because we have to pay global music rights of $1,964 and Broadcast Music Inc. $12,918, which were not in our prior budget, and so we want to make sure that we budget properly. These costs are for the songwriter royalties, which must be paid anytime we broadcast music in a public setting. Line 43 is staff uniforms. It covers uniform laundering for designated staff, maintenance, and property services. And we are trending just a bit above our budget, so we're recommending an increase from $6,000 to $7,000 in the proposed budget. Line 44 is our audit and tax service. There is a small increase proposed for that. They've been our auditor for a number of years and have kept their costs down. The board is pleased with their services, so we did anticipate a slight increase in fees this year. Line 45 is consulting services. The budget recommendation is based on limited consulting services. We moved from $8,000 to $10,000, but this is to support the audio and visual components recently installed in the auditorium so that we have good board meetings. And we now have more expertise to operate the equipment, and we're anticipating that will be more level in the future. Line 46 is legal services general. This item covers general legal expenses excluding litigation, which will be budgeted under lawsuits. And the line covers any legal counsel when our legal counsel comes to our board meetings. We have telephone conferences, the board does, with legal counsel and any other legal advice as needed as we go through the year. We moved it from $70,000 to $80,000 because we are at the end of 8 months trending over our proposed budget. Line 47 is legal service collection, and we are moving it from $2,000 up to $8,000 because we are over the budget, and what that means is we're spending more money to collect bills that haven't been paid by our homeowners. The association contracts with Whitkin and Neal for those collection services, And they, of course, make every effort, as do we, to keep those costs down. Line 45 is legal services, lawsuits. This line represents the legal counsel's assessment for the estimated cost to the association for its litigation work during our new year. Primarily, this covers the ongoing appeal. We have moved it down from $150,000 to $100,000, anticipating some good news for this year. Line 49 is community management contract. It is very close to what it was this year, $14,496, moving to $14,931, and it reflects a very modest increase of just 3%. Line 50 is management extras. This amount covers any small miscellaneous costs that are otherwise not covered if they are not covered in the management contracts. And after 8 months, we haven't incurred any expenses, but we'll leave $1,000 in there for the proposed budget just to make sure that we are covered in the event that any expenses come up. And as Chuck told us, the amount of the total for administrative costs are $1,975,631, which is an increase, even with all of that we've just talked about, of just $4,642, a 0.2% or 0.2% increase over the year that we are in for the new year.
I have a couple questions, Sharon.
Okay.
Can we go, and I decided, I have a couple questions, so I'm going to do it at the end here.
Okay.
Line 38. With the insurance premiums, I just questions, are we locked into this company? I know we've used them a lot. That's a big increase. I know insurance is going up, it's just, is it worth going out, seeing what's out there, or whomever?
Yeah, we hunt through the brokerage that we use. They look for different policies or carriers out there to get the best price for the association. But we have not been in the market looking for another broker. That would be the board's prerogative if it decided it wanted to do that. We just, each budget year, we get a proposal from the brokerage of the anticipated policy for the next year for all the different coverages that are required by law, with the exception of the earthquake. That one isn't required by law, but we do carry an earthquake policy. So again, that would be the board's prerogative if it wanted to the committee isn't driving on anything you're going to hear today. No. They're not saying, hey, board, it's time to go out to bid or it's time to change your company. That's not the function of the committee. They're going to bring to you, based on our current services that we have with the current service providers, they're bringing whatever those costs are to the board in a budget. Yeah. So based on what you hear today, you can make determinations on, hey, we need to look at something else or someone else. And right. But that would, again, be up to the board.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, line 42. Those permits and licenses, when you say music, is this like when the bands, like we have bands coming in, or are these unionized? I mean, I'm trying to understand.
The union doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay.
It is when we have music that we play in a public setting that has been written by a songwriter, we owe them a royalty.
Okay. So that's like when the Rat Pack comes in, I mean, the different things like that come in.
BMI is the big one.
Right, okay.
And we were paying a license in the past, but it was not the correct one that covers
okay.
the proper
right.
royalty coverage for the different artists. So,
okay.
Yeah, and we're on their radar now, so there's no turning back at this point. In order to do the entertainment and the things that we do in this clubhouse, we're going to be stuck with this.
Does this have anything to do with the theater groups, anything like that? This is purely what the HOA puts on?
No, it absolutely has to do with the entertainment we bring in, some of the things that the clubs do. So my understanding is that a good portion of this may be offset, if not all of it, by ticket prices for some of these paid events. So there should be money coming in that can help defer the impact of that license. Actually, there's two licenses. One's about 12 grand and the other one's almost $2,000 that we pay.
So will the different clubs be made aware of what they may owe on this, if there's these license things?
That I'm not 100% sure yet,
Okay.
but that would again be up to the board to communicate that to the different clubs and anybody else that might be it apply to.
Okay.
But we've already been talking with Kara, with her planning for different events through the social committee, things that are sponsored by the association. She's already taking steps to include that. Again, whether the clubs have officially been made aware, that's yet to be determined, but we can talk more about that as we get further along.
Just a follow-up question. Is that a flat fee or is it negotiable?
With the
royalty?
BMI?
Yeah, this is
No, it's
$12,000.
a fee that's set every year, and it could fluctuate by a few dollars, but in other words, we thought it was a flat fee, but it actually is a little less this year than it was last year, by just maybe $100 or something like that. But yes, it's basically a pretty close to a flat fee.
Okay.
We can't negotiate with them on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Did we end up, wasn't there 3 different associations and we were covering 2 of them and hoping the other guys didn't know about us? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, we inquired and we're asking questions. I don't know if they had caller ID at the other end or what it was, but BMI made some quick calls back to us to let us know that they're going to stay on us until we participate in with the fee structure for their licensing.
Okay.
And one last question, on consulting services.
Before we move on,
Oh, sorry.
just one more question. I mean, we typically know how many tickets we sell in a year. I mean, can we just automatically say everything's going up 25 cents and then get rid of this line item and know we're going to cover the expense?
Again, I don't think the committee wanted to take the chance of,
Finance committee.
or the finance committee, of guaranteeing that.
Okay.
But so if we can offset that, it's just going to help the bottom line. But yeah, after a year of this and we see that it works, then yeah, I think you can reduce the budget by that amount, knowing that the events that you plan throughout the year are going to cover it. But I don't think this is the year to do that. I think we should account for it and see how it works.
And if it's a line item, then we can monitor it. If it's just buried somewhere, you're not going to know what it is.
And one last question. On 705 consulting services, I'm just questioning where the last line is, the consultant has reduced his services and need for consulting, yet we increase it. And right now we're on budget right now in December. I just looked at it. So I'm just wondering why. I know it's a small amount, but just sort of counterintuitive. He says he's reducing his services, but we're putting up.
Well, that line doesn't cover just one consultant.
Okay.
It covers any consulting that the board may use over the year.
Okay.
So the majority of it, yes, it happens to cover the work
Hendrickson,
that
yeah.
Jake
Hendrickson,
Hendrickson
yeah.
provides in this department, but yeah, it covers other things.
Okay. I saw Hendrickson's name and okay.
Got it?
Yeah, I got it. I have a question on line 19, bad debt. It's a small amount, but I just have a question. How long before we write off a debt, or how long do we wait? And and this is two-part questions, are those the ones that we would issue a lien on someone's house for later revenue? Can you explain that, Jim?
Yes, it ultimately is tied to that, to delinquent homeowners. As was mentioned earlier, we have on the balance sheet, we have doubtful accounts there. So we have monies sitting there to offset assessments that aren't being paid. And so, and let me also add that it's not, the bad debt is not just covering what we believe that we need to cover in assessments that aren't being paid or other fees related to assessments. We're also accounting for 100% of what is generated through the golf course in their 25% of the maintenance costs of the main gate. So we don't anticipate being able to collect that from the current owner. So we're accounting for that because it's required by our governing documents. And we're also putting money aside to offset it so that it doesn't become a burden against the operating bottom line. So it does cover those things, and it's just allocated whatever the annual contribution is on that line to bad debt. It is put on, it ends up on the balance sheet, 100% of the invoice that's sent to the golf course, and the remainder goes towards doubtful accounts on the homeowner assessment accounts. That makes sense?
Thank you.
Is that what their gate fees are?
The gate fees
Okay.
would be, again, 100% of what that invoice is each month. That bad debt line on the income statement is covering that expense for now. We're anticipating the likelihood that the board will have to write that off at some time, at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, Del?
On 49, I don't understand, what is that exactly?
That's a corporate oversight.
That's your PCM contract?
It seems kind of small for a PCM contract. Why
Yeah,
not?
you're getting a good deal.
Yeah.
Get what you pay for.
It's for the management contract and all the services that they provide through Foothill and Dallas.
Okay,
And it doesn't include your on-site staff, so,
okay.
including me.
So administration makes up 28.2% of the budget? Is that
Correct.
the number?
Correct.
Thank you, Shirley.
So are there any further questions on administrative? Then we can go to the next slide. That's communications, and Jerry, you're up.
Line 52, GL account 5200, community events. As we were talking previously, the events that Kara puts on for which the homeowners are charged an attendance fee, these expenses include, among other things, payments to the entertainers, food services, how it's decorated, and this costs about $100,000 a year. However, this under GL 4275, which is the income, one of the income lines that Chuck will be going over, we collect that same amount. So in effect, this is a wash. We're claiming it as a $1,000 expense on the expense portion, but it's $100,000, but another $100,000 on income, so it offsets that.
Thank you, Jerry. Next section of the budget is utilities, presented by Paul Nelson.
Line 53 is electric service. At 8 months, we're tracking close to the budget, being slightly under. However, SCE, our friends, has recently implemented a double-digit percentage rate increase that will impact this line in the upcoming fiscal year. Therefore, we believe that this line should be increased by $15,000 to $145,000 to cover expected additional costs for electric services. Line 54, gas service, we're currently trending under budget after 8 months, which we recognize is largely due to seasonal consumption of natural gas. We recommend this line remain the same for the next fiscal year at $80,000. Line 55, water service. We are currently trending We're currently trending under budget for water at the clubhouse and gatehouse at 8 months, recommending that this line may be reduced by $1,000 from $15,000 to $14,000 for the next fiscal year. This amount should be sufficient to cover our monthly sewer fees for the clubhouse and gatehouse and the water for the pool and spas. Line 56, trash and recycling. We're currently trending slightly under budget for 8 months into the fiscal year, recommending that this line remain at $7,000 for the next fiscal year. And line 57 is cable TV service. This line covers cable TV services through Spectrum, as well as several cable boxes for the various televisions throughout the clubhouse and the fitness room and the cardio equipment. We are currently trending over budget at 8 months. We are currently researching other media providers and are confident that costs for media services will rise. Therefore, we recommend increasing this line from $1,000 to $2,500 for the next fiscal year. So the utilities, the net increase for the year is 6.7% over the current fiscal year. Any questions?
I have a question. Is there any way to combine the cable and the internet services into one when we go and look at a new provider?
Certainly, that can be explored.
Oh, cool.
To
Okay.
determine whether we can do it or not. That said, the majority of our Wi-Fi, our internet lines that we have are provided through Verizon or Frontier. The solutions to the media issues that we're experiencing here at the clubhouse, Verizon or Frontier will not be able to satisfy that. So if we did end up combining, we would be changing the service provider as well, which is doable, but we may end up with a dish provider. So I'm not sure how well their internet service, how robust it is and reliable it is. We'd have to explore all that. So,
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Next section, please. The next section is landscape, and Jerry, once again, is going to be presenting this section.
Under landscaping, beginning on line 59, we're currently under contract with our existing landscape company, which is going out for bid as we speak. And in anticipation that we don't know whether the bids are going to come in at the same, lower, slightly higher. There's, I think, at least 2 other companies besides our current one that's going to be submitting a bid package. Is that right? or is there more?
We have 4 providing.
4,
proposals,
okay.
yeah.
So what we did, we didn't change any of these because they're as per our existing contract. But if you look at the end on line 81, it shows our current contract at $1,875,000 and change. And the new one, we're essentially did an overall 2.2% increase, which is just an estimate on our part, bringing it up to $1,900,000 and roughly $17,000. And as previously indicated by Chuck when he went over the brief introduction, this is a big number. It's 27.3% of the budget. Are there any questions?
Sorry, go ahead.
I have one on mulch. No laugh, no. I know. No, I found out something very interesting, that in looking at what we budget, Anthony has told us that the transportation costs have gone up. Basically, if we budget, let's say $50,000, around 25,000 is in transportation costs. So our mulch budget really is a lot less than the amount we have that we can purchase mulch from. So that's just a comment on looking at, our budget on mulch. It's the transportation cost is eating us alive. So I understand this is what we're going to budget, which I don't have, that's what we're going to do. But it's just something we need to think about in the future concerning that. Also, I have a question. Oh, and mulch is not in the contract. It's a completely separate thing. So thank you for the 3% there, but it's not technically in the contract. Also, I have a question on reserves with this. When we do replacing plants that have died in that, we note that, and they usually come out of reserves when we replace those that have died in that when the landscape committee does their walking. So these are things we planted. Is there ever considered that most of something we put down, we purchase, and then we replace it? Is there any way that could look into be a reserve item or something? I'm just looking for alternatives because we're replacing it, and we replace the plants that die. That usually comes out of the reserve budget. We have that amount of money that covers that. I know it could be a Hail Mary pass, but.
No, if the board determined that it wanted to move that into the reserve line that currently provides replacement of plants and trees and that type of thing, and put mulch in that same category, it could do that.
Because I know we have a lot of potential rebates coming our way. We're going to be redesigning some areas, and a lot of that's going to be mulch. I know that the rebates will cover that. The initial rebates will cover I hope they do, cover all the mulch that's put down. But again, it's just a question I have trying to resolve this mulch issue that seems to be hanging out there for a number of years. So just a question.
Just always keep in mind of being careful not to nickel and dime your reserves too much.
I know, but this is a big issue. I mean, it's been.
But yeah, the board could consider that.
Especially when I realize how much we pay in transportation that takes away from the actual mulch.
Yeah.
When I did the invoices, I finally realized, my God, look at that amount. So that's what sort of kept me here. But I don't want to go after reserves, but I'm just thinking philosophically, if we can do it for plants, why not? Most we're replacing them.
Yeah, I would suggest we consult with our
reserve specialist, yes.
Consultant, the reserve specialist, to get his take on it too, before the board make a decision on that.
Okay, thanks.
A quick question on the landscape water. I mean, as he said, we replace a lot of grasp with, you know, the new water reduction plants and everything. Is that taken into account? They're assuming a higher increase in water, but it's not going up because we're not going to use as much, or?
Yes, I think that is absolutely the case. We've taken into account the reduction in our turf and what we found is the water companies find a way to make their money, and they usually do that through adjusting the tiers and how you're going to be affected by those tiers. They reduce your allotment of water to get you to that higher tier quicker. And it's unfortunate that they do that, but they find a way to keep the average, the income from their customers where right at what they need it to be to stay afloat, I guess, on their end. But if we find that through, you know, good water management and continued reduction in the turf areas, that it makes a more significant impact on the cost against this current proposed budget, yeah, well, they'll make a proposal to reduce it in the future, but just keep in mind that what the water district's goal is.
Make money.
Any other questions on landscape? Then in that case, we can move on to the next section. The next section is gate entry and patrol, and Paul Nelson will be speaking on this.
Okay, line 82, property protection contract. The gate attendant and community patrol services, which are provided by Allied Universal Security Services, contract includes a very slight increase of $5,300, which is less than 1%. Excuse me, less than 1% for the next fiscal year. Property protection supplies, line 83, we're currently trending under budget after 8 months. We recommend that this line item remain at $10,000 for the next fiscal year. We have incurred sizable expenses in this category in the past. Line 84, vehicle gate repair. This amount covers the cost of repairing damages to the gate system not related to the preventive maintenance. The HOA seeks reimbursement for the cost of repairs from those that have damaged the gate systems. However, there are instances where we cannot identify the party that damaged the system. In those cases, the cost for the repair is unfortunately absorbed by the association. We are currently trending under budget for 8 months. The committee recommends that this line remain at $10,000 to cover the possibility of the HOA incurring costs to repair the access control equipment where reimbursement is determined to be uncollectible. Line 85, preventive maintenance system. This line covers preventative maintenance for the access control system, specifically the cost to maintain the gate openers, barrier arm mechanisms, camera system, ground loop, etc., for the overall community access system at each of the 3 gates. This also includes the maintenance and upkeep of the access control system, computer, printer, etc. We are currently trending substantially under budget for the first 8 months of the current fiscal year. Accordingly, the committee is comfortable reducing this line from $10,000 to $5,000 for the next fiscal year. 86, gate access system software fees. This line is being reduced to 0 because Allied Universal has their own proprietary software at no cost to the HOA. Therefore, our net increase for the gate entry and control service is 4/100% of 1%, $300.
Okay, we're talking about, I don't know if this is a section, if we upgrade to have the light, the red and green go and different things, is that going to be in this section if we have to upgrade the system, or is that somewhere else? I mean,
To
say we're gonna-
maintain,
Yeah,
to maintain it would be,
maintain,
under
so,
yeah, it doesn't exist yet, so we're not accounting for it from a maintenance standpoint.
okay,
But that would be under, if it's a replacement of something, that could be a reserve expense, or if it's something new, it would be a capital expense, and you would budget it on its own line in the
Okay.
budget.
And so, Paul, this is 10.7% of the budget?
I don't recall.
The utilities are
No, gate access.
gate entry and patrol. It's comprises 10.7% of the budget.
Okay. Do we know how much it would cost if we were to have a different security company who would have a software system that we would actually have to pay for in addition to their contract, by any chance?
It would add anywhere from $700 to $1,200 a month
Oh,
to the
wow.
cost.
Wow.
Just depends on the companies and the type of system we're using. And some companies, patrol and gate attendant companies, don't have any software, so you would have to find a third-party provider, and those tend to be on the higher end, up there in the $800 to $1,200 range.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for gate entry and patrol? Then let's proceed to the next section. The next section is repair and maintenance, and Wendell Jackson shall be reporting.
As soon as I put on my eyeglasses. Okay, line 88, 6414, fire prevention equipment. This is for monitoring and inspection of our fire safety equipment in the HOA and in the guardhouse. Our services we use gave us a projected price for this next year. Thus, we're recommending an increase of $1,000 from $4,000 to $5,000 for the year. Line 89, 6424 GL, HVAC systems. This is for preventative services. Particularly, we have a 30-ton unit on the top of this roof. We have 5 mini-split air conditioners and a bunch of other smaller air conditioners throughout. And as the balance of it goes for tentative repairs. We're trending under budget, but due to the age of the equipment, we recommend that we stay at $18,000 for the year. Line 90, 6434 GL, pest control insects. This is for pest control of insects for the clubhouse and the gatehouse and the surrounding grounds. We're trending slightly under, so we recommend a decrease of $300 to a total of $2,100 for the year. Line 91, which is 6600 GL, general repair and maintenance. It's for repair and maintenance of miscellaneous equipment throughout the clubhouse and common areas. For example, the clubhouse carpeting costs us $15,000 a year to clean. Cleaning the windows, electric door servicing, outsourced janitor is $52,000 a year. We're trending below record, so we suggest that we decrease from $83,000 to $80,000 for the year. Line 92 is 6690 GL. This is pest control, but for rodents, squirrels, bees, and rabbits. And we recommended a $100 increase to $32,100 from our current $32,000. Line 93, 6692, termites, repair and maintenance. Self-explanatory, we recommended stays at $4,000. And line 94, which is 6702 GL, pool chemicals. This is based on our contractor's projections. They suggest we stay at the $15,000 that we're at. And based on the above, we would be at a 1.39% increase, a decrease to a totaling $2,200 decrease for that whole subject for the year. Any questions?
2.2% of the budget.
Let's see, repair and maintenance, 2.2% of the budget.
Thank you.
Jim,
I wanted my pie chart.
air conditioning systems, how old are they?
I know. Yeah.
They vary. Some are just a few years old, but some date back to, one at least dates back to 1989. So we've definitely got our money's worth out of that unit. And there are two others that you're likely to see on your February agenda, open session, to replace one unit, a compressor, the one for, I think, the kitchen. The compressor completely died on it, and it's a minimum of a $5,000 fix. So we're going to propose that be replaced instead of repairing it. When big ticket items like that go bad, that's usually a red flag for bigger things to come. And
Super.
so we have two other units that are really not too far in age. They're maybe a couple years younger, that are being proposed by our contractor that does our preventative maintenance, that we replace this year, if at all possible. And so the proposal you're going to see is going to, here's what it would cost to just repair it, here's what it would cost to replace that unit, and here's what it would cost to do all three of the units that are in need to be replaced sooner than later. And you'll see the savings from paying for just one versus doing three is going to reduce the per unit cost, because you only have to bring a crane out once and they can get the buying power of three as opposed to just one, that type of thing. So we're going to improve our HVAC system by 3 this year, we're hoping. So probably more than you asked for in that response, but that's where we're at.
Any other questions for repair and maintenance? Then let's proceed to the next section. Okay, the next section is the golf course subsidy. Well, as you all know, we have been painfully maintaining the golf course subsidy, due in no small part to the uncertainty for when the golf course will change ownership. We perceive this to occur during the 26-27 fiscal year, and hopefully prior to the end of 2026. When this occurs, Tri-Guild, the court-appointed receiver, will no longer be required to maintain golf course operations. Therefore, it is prudent to maintain a conservative subsidy position in our next fiscal year budget. This is necessary due to the complexity of the transition period and the uncertainty surrounding the remaining services to be provided by the receiver. As you all may recall, we also suffered through a recent trend of high subsidy funding to sustain golf course operations. The receiver projects losses through December 2026 of approximately $250,000. However, the committee recommends increasing the subsidy by an additional $50,000 to $300,000 over the same period. This provides a conservative 20% contingency to the receiver's more optimistic projections. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. If it's projecting, is that from equipment, irrigation, all of the above? What sort of unexpected things are we expecting?
as to why we have a $50,000 increase over his projections?
Yeah,
We feel, because of the fact that they blew out their projections last year, which we largely relied on, that it would be reasonable to conclude that their projections may also go over once again.
right.
So in order to err on the side of caution, it's prudent to put that 20% contingency in.
But
Because
what are the losses are they projecting?
$250,000 through December, and through the entire fiscal year going to April 30th, 2027, it'd be $330,000, which we don't expect to have a relationship with them in 2027. If, God forbid, we do, something terribly went wrong with the foreclosure. So we're projecting out through the end of the year. We're hoping they'll be gone in the fall. But again, to be conservative, we're projecting them out through the end of the year.
I guess I'm just trying to find out what some of the root causes of the losses would be, if they were going to tell you those losses.
Much of what the receiver does today is a Band-Aid.
Correct.
So they're not doing long-term fixes to things. So some things are reoccurring.
Oh,
We also have, especially with the rain, and we might have, sounds like an El Nino this year, which is going to trigger growth and the need for weed abatement. And we've got more and more homeowners that have been inquiring with the golf course about overgrown trees or trees that they feel are dangerous to their property. So you can only defer those things for so long before they have to do something about it. And right now they run so close to breaking even or at a loss that we have to cover those costs when they arise. And so
Okay.
this subsidy reflects some of that.
thank you.
And we did a lot of tree trimming this year, which I assume we won't have to do again next year. Do you know what percentage was done?
I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know exactly in terms of percentages, but I know they did clearing. Some of that is unavoidable, of course, and a lot of that can be deferred past into next year. Some of it can. Of course, if there's emergencies, they will have to attend to that. They do project, now, their funding, their subsidies, we paid out around $320 over the last 8 months. They're projecting losses of $330 over 12 months. So they're actually projecting an increase in revenue of 11%. So they are more optimistic, and they have factored some things into their budget which they failed to do in the past, which is a good thing. It's like being conservative, like we're throwing things in our budget as well. So they are more optimistic, but we need to take a more conservative approach with them only because of the fact that in the past, they have failed to live up to their projections. The prior year they did. The prior year before that, in 2024, they had a very good year, and they exceeded projections. But then last year, it flipped.
One last thing I would mention as well, we don't know how aggressive the fire department's going to be with the increase in the need to clear fire hazards, things like that, we do have some red zones that touch the colony and part of the golf course. And right now, the fire department is being somewhat understanding of the situation, but that can change overnight just depending on how much pressure they might be getting either from the state or even from residents that feel they have a hazard outside their yard. So we have to be aware of that too as a possibility.
And we have some rain in the forecast. And of course, rain creates growth and weeds. So that could add pressure for clearing some of this out at some point in the next few months. Anyway, that's the golf course. If there are not any further questions, we'll move on to the next section. Okay, the next one's clubhouse operations, and actually, clubhouse operations is Wendell. Wendell gets to take this one.
My name is not Shirley. Okay, clubhouse operations, we're starting with line 97, GL 6410, furniture and equipment. This is for furniture and equipment not under a reserve study or other line items. In other words, it's miscellaneous stuff that we've had at the interim. We're trending under, and we recommend to reduce it from $5,000 to $3,000 for the year. Line 98, GL 6417, technology services. It's for the repair and maintenance for the kiosks, the AV equipment, common community web, and our cloud. Recommend an increase of $8,000 from $15,000 to $23,000 for the year. Line 99, which is 6426, indoor plant maintenance service, is self-explanatory. There's a contractual increase of 5.7%, so we recommend an increase of $400 from $7,000 to $7,400. Line 100, GL 6437, pool monitoring. This is basically a summer and late spring item. It's for the monitoring of how the pool is being used by guests of, especially underage guests. And we're trending over, and we are trending over, but we recommend an increase of $500 to $6,500, basically because of wages. Line 6438, pool management. This line item covers the pool and spa maintenance by Breakpoint Pool and Spa. That's the cleaning contractor. We are currently tracking on budget after 8 months, so we recommend no change. Remain at $14,000. Line 102, 6439, which is pool equipment maintenance and repair. Self-explanatory also, but we're trending under. We recommend we stay at $10,000 due to the risk of expensive repairs that can happen on that kind of equipment, even though we're trending under budget. Line 103, clubhouse supplies. That's for all non-janitorial supply items for day-to-day operations. We're also trending under, and we recommend lowering it $5,000 to $15,000 from $20,000. Line 104, which is 6527 GL, coffee. We're trending over, and we recommend an increase of $3,000 from $13,000 to $16,000 for the year. Line 105, GL 6570, fitness equipment, maintenance and repair. We have, with several computerized pieces recently being replaced, we recommend a decrease of $3,000 to make it from $8,000 down to $5,000. The computerized pieces obviously are more temperamental and more expensive, so we're glad we have the new ones. Line 106, which is GL 6635, janitorial supplies and maintenance. That's for the cleaning supplies, paper goods for the clubhouse, the guardhouse, the annex, trending slightly under. We recommend we leave it at $40,000 for the year. Line 107, GL 6700, pool supplies that are not chemicals. That's stuff for like miscellaneous signs, brushes, thermostats, that sort of thing. We're trending under, so recommend a decrease from decrease of $1,500 from $3,000 to $1,500 for the year. Line 108, GL 6710, recreation-sponsored events. This is for pay-per-view sports, electronic pickup, shredding, piano tuning, food for open session board meetings, non-ticket events, and activities provided to the residents by CARA. We recommend a decrease from $17,000 to $15,000. And that puts our total clubhouse operations down $1,600 for the year, or another reduction of 1.01%. That's it. Any questions?
It's 2.2%.
Except Bob.
Yes, 2.2% of
Thank
the
you.
budget.
Okay, line 64017. Line 64017, technology, services.
GL 611.
Line 98.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 98. Because it went up a lot. It went up so much. That's fine. Just questioning, that's a 53% increase, 53% increase. And I guess I'm just wondering, does this cover a lot of our new equipment we bought, or is this purely the website? And I don't understand password protection. I guess we bought the website and we've been doing this. I didn't realize we had to do more. I guess I'm just.
Well, there's an ongoing cost. It moved us from the tier we were in and actually Jake can explain this much better than I can, but our previous website, we were buying a data package and a storage package that covered a certain amount. Since we've gone to individual passwords where you're personally password protected,
Right, okay.
it moves us to the whole next tier, which has a lot of room for growth. We're at the bottom of that tier, but it forced us to it, which had a significant increase in the cost. We've known this for years. Actually, when we launched the website before this one, previously, shortly after the opening of the clubhouse, after the remodel, we knew it back then that it was a big expense, and the board chose it, at that time it didn't want to absorb that cost. So we did a simple password where everyone had the same password, and we published it in the news magazine. And here's where we ended up is we need a more secure system, so there's a cost associated with it. And those are really hard costs. What's that?
I thought it was Florida. That's what I remember. Florida was.
I think you're right. That is what it was. So it doesn't matter anymore, so everybody can hear the password.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Good one, Bob.
Did that answer your question, though?
Yeah, I just was, okay, I understand that. And this has nothing to do with all the new equipment in the auditorium and all that. This is purely the website and the AV,
Well,
kiosk and that.
we've renamed the line. It used to be closed circuit television was what this line used to be called, and it was really never titled right. Back in the day, before I got here, we used to have a channel through Spectrum and an in-house channel that I guess functioned for a while, but it didn't last very long. It was already disconnected by the time I got here. But that's what they called that line, was for whatever the costs associated for the equipment for that line.
Okay.
So it just stuck. But now that we do the streaming and all those things, any services we pay for, again, data storage and any kind of costs associated with producing these meetings, it's on this line.
Okay.
Excluding the consulting that Jake provides. That's the consulting line.
Sure.
Just a follow-up question on the password protection. How much of that 23 is for the password protection, do you know? And is that going to be an annual fee that we have to pay for that password protection? It's not something we can just buy and then have.
It's an annual fee.
Okay.
And yes, the majority of that is for just that website. password protection.
I have a question, Chuck. On line 108 and line 24, seems like there's some crossover descriptions that match each other.
The community events and the recreation-sponsored events, one...
No, the board expenses on 24
Oh,
Open board versus closed board.
versus line 108. Probably a small amount, we just wanted,
the,
any kind of food or refreshments or anything, where do they go?
the food for recreational events that our activities director puts together for them on behalf of the community.
No, this is board I'm talking about.
Yeah, they go there, and then the food that goes for our board meetings goes under the board expenses.
Well, also it says that on 24.
No, open board versus closed.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
For the community.
This is just the food that is at the.
Like if Kara
board
picks
meeting.
up cookies or things like that for a meeting like this.
Yeah, I'm just asking which ones to go to, 24 or 108?
They're different.
Well, the ones on 24 are specifically for when the board is meeting in executive session and food's brought in, that hits that line. Anything outside of that would be under Kara's budget for,
Okay, it just said board meeting, so I didn't know.
yeah, it probably could be described a little differently.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It says open session right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, just clarification, line 100, 64 through 7, those are the allied security guards that come into the pool, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then line 104, coffee.
Who won the bet?
No, how much do we collect? Dean, I'm just curious, I mean, it's out there, I put $1 in and that's,
I don't remember the last deposit we made where we had quite a bit of time built up. But it's been probably 4 or 5 months, and we just yesterday deposited what we've built up, and it was about a little over $1,200. So it's something, but it's far from covering the cost of the coffee. And I've said this many times, and I know this is a hot subject every year it comes up. I think the board in many years past had already made a determination that we're looking at coffee like an amenity. It's like the swimming pool. It's here for you if you want to use it or not. We're going to provide it for you. There's a cost associated with it, and it's X amount of dollars. We'll have a can or a couple put out there for people that want to contribute to the cost, but it's not going to cover the cost of the coffee. It's at your honor or on your honor kind of a thing. So again, it's something that the board's wrestled with almost every year, but I think you've always come back to the, hey, it's a nice little perk to have for our residents, and it's just, that's what it costs to do
well,
it.
that's what I mean, I'm the newbie, so I thought I'd just bring it up to,
And
Includes the coffee in the back of the room like today.
yeah, including the coffee you see in the back. And Kara has mentioned recently that she's reduced the amount of coffee that she's been providing to different events and things like that she would normally provide, and we're still up in usage. So I don't know if we have the new residents coming in are big coffee drinkers or what it is, but we've had an increase in the use of the coffee and a decrease in what Kara actually puts out at different events.
well, I'm just going to drop it.
Not all of them, but some of them.
Because I'm getting flack from this side of the table, so I'm just going to leave it alone.
You've been given the signal that you've said enough?
Yeah, Glenn and I
Jim
don't want him
hasn't
to take away our
closed his mouth
coffee.
yet?
Okay.
Any more questions? Clubhouse operations?
Oh, I was gonna ask something about the whole budget and that. What's the CPI? Just threw out there so we know how we did against that.
Well, I
Do we have
got
it?
this, Jerry is our CPI.
Yeah, that's what I was
person.
hoping he'd have.
Ready for that?
Did you want the number
Yeah, no,
now?
I'm just curious. I mean, I know what we had a 2%, 2 point whatever percent raise.
Well,
I'm
we
curious what
just
the-
had a right
Yeah.
through. Go ahead, Jerry.
The CPI that Social Security uses through the end of December was about, I think, 2.3%, 2.4%. That's the all U.S. cities average. There's also, and that was supposed to be updated so we would have the January CPI, but I got I'm on this email thing from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they sent out a few days ago a notice that it was going to be delayed until this Friday the 13th. So I don't know whether that's good news or bad. But that would tell us what it is through January. Now, for the local area of Ontario, San Bernardino, and Riverside, they also publish a local index, but that's published every other month.
Yeah, we're a little.
And that should be coming out in this, when they publish the January one. But the one that was published in November was, for this local area, was, I believe, if memory serves me right, approaching 5%. So significantly higher.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to get at.
Thank you. Next section, please. All right, now we have Shirley, and this is taxes.
Right. The line items are 110 and 111 for the federal and California state tax. We do not pay tax on the residential fees that are collected each month from everyone that lives here. We do pay tax on anything that is non-related, which would be our interest income primarily, also the salon rental. Our auditors figure that for us, but the taxes we anticipate will be $52,000 for federal this year and $24,000 for the state, up slightly from the prior year. Our interest income this year has been higher than the prior year, and Chuck did say that the interest for next year we anticipate will be less, but we pay the income tax in the new year for what we earned this year. So we anticipate a slight increase. But altogether, it's $76,000 for both of those, just over 1% of the budget.
Any questions on the taxes?
You stop paying them.
Okay, well, let's go to the next section. And I believe it's the last section of the expenses, and I get to do it. It's the reserves. Our proposed contribution increase is going to be 2%. Our reserve analyst believes that the 2% increase in reserve contributions is appropriate. The current reserve study also projected that our reserves will begin the next fiscal year with a funding percentage of 67.14%. Now, as the board may recall from last year at this time, we did a 10%, we proposed a 10% increase in the reserve percentage, and we got approved by the board. We executed it. And largely that was based on a projected funding percentage at year end in the high 50s. If memory serves me correctly, it was around 57 to 59%, which is somewhat disappointing. It's getting in the fair zone, not where we want to be and going in the wrong direction. But the 10% increase from last year put us in better standing than we thought. As a result, he's now projecting our funding percentage beginning balance at 67.14%, which is stone's throw from 70%, which is kind of where we're going, where we want to go. We ultimately want to go to 100%, but 70% is a good start. So as a result, we are recommending to go with the 2%. This is going to also keep us in good standing, we believe. And this will represent an increase of $25,954 from the prior budget as well. Now, the reserves, as we had discussed earlier, is a bigger piece of our dollar pie that we looked at on one of the slides. It consists of almost 19% of our total budget. It also is in third position as far as the amount contributing to the $8 increase in our overall monthly owner assessments. It's in third highest category at 17.1% of the $8. It's $1.36 to be exact. So, any questions regarding the reserves?
Got it, yeah. This is kind of new to me on the reserve, so who says 70% is good, or who recommends that, or what?
Just an industry standard number.
And we're at 67.
7, yeah, and as Al Portune, our reserve analyst, said, it's almost sniffing 70%, which is pretty good.
All right. To actually get it to 70%, what do you think would have to go?
According to his current projections, it would be the 29-30 fiscal year, the 2029 to 2030 fiscal year, based on what we're doing right now today. That could change next year based on expenditures and other factors. But based on his current projections, it would be 29-30. Then after about maybe 8 years, 10 years, maybe even less, he has it at 100%. And then going way beyond 100%, which he,
29-30.
29-30.
72% is what's projected.
He had 72% funding percentage in the 29-30 fiscal year.
Okay, so he's got a chart, a scale for us.
He does.
And do you feel comfortable with where we are?
I'm actually pleased because I was going off of last year's projections where he had us below 60%. Had that been the case, I would have been proposing, I think our committee would have been proposing a much higher contribution percentage today. That would have pushed assessments a lot higher.
Okay, so you're all good with this, your committee? Obviously, you're recommending it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time or not, but, so you're saying we go from 348 to 356. I'd still like to get more in the reserve. 67 is nice, but it's still below where we need to be. I mean, I think we should do a nice round number, 360, and that additional $4. Is my suggestion.
Well, it's up to you guys, but it may only push us getting to 70%, maybe. I don't know if that would be enough to get us even up one more year.
Well, it's going to be more than it is now.
You know, it would be more, but, you know, you want to get to that 70% line. You'd like to move it up another year, perhaps. Then we'd have to take a look at the funding percentages and how we can get there. Maybe more, you know, what it would take.
But what it wouldn't do is it wouldn't affect this coming fiscal year beginning number. That's still going to be 67%. Mm-hmm. So whatever you decide to do this year would affect most likely the following year. And yeah, it could get us there a year earlier to 70%. We'd have to look at the projections based on that, whatever the board would decide it wanted to increase. I know the committee was pretty, they worked real hard to bring the assessment, the impact of the increase down as low as it absolutely possibly could. And that's what you see today, this $8 increase. Because it was quite a bit more than that when we started. And they worked very hard to reduce it. So, but yeah, certainly in the board's wheelhouse, and its prerogative if it wants to increase the reserve contribution.
That would be something the board would need to discuss.
Yeah, obviously.
If they wanted to do $2, that would, instead of being $25,954, it would be $64,018 going towards reserves. That's what that would be. That would be an increase of 5%. I actually have it here, because that was in our initial draft budget. I can tell you if I can find it. Let's see. It's right, it should be right here. Oh, here it is. So, as Jim pointed out, that 67.14% funding percentage for this year is not moving. That stays the same. So what it would give you, what it would buy you, it would bring up, instead of being in the 29-30 year, you would be at 74, instead of being at 72% in the 2029-30 year, you would be at 74% in the 28-29 year. So is it worth it for you to want to put in $2 more on monthly assessments to get up one more year and 2%? It's not changing the funding percentage this year.
Right, I know, but it's
that's-
still reserves,
that's
still money
the-
coming in.
that's the decision.
For emergencies, for reserve, for things that we have to fix, you know, things keep going up. I mean, everything's an estimate, obviously, you know, we don't have a crystal ball
Yeah.
to know exactly what's gonna happen.
It-
So I'd rather be on the high side of 67 than the low side of 67 at the end of the next year.
It's going to, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to mention that if it's the board's desire, the committee can prepare two options, today's option and a 5% increase in the reserves, which would be an additional $2. And when the board's considering the budget at the February meeting, you can make a determination at that time which budget you want to approve.
I think he was talking $4 from 356 to 360, not $2, is that right?
Oh, $4? Oh, so a
And
$4 increase.
no matter what we do today, we're not going to approve this today.
No,
So
that's
we'll
right.
have a chance to talk about it as a board and we can decide.
So you want to go $4?
But it would be good for the committee to know what the board wants it to submit for that meeting. If it wants options, we can have that prepared prior to the meeting so you can consider it. It would be easier to have specific numbers in front of you as opposed to wondering what that effect might be.
Too many variations, you know. There's too many variations. What would we tell you? Provide 12 more copies of things? You know, I don't want to do that.
It would be an 8% increase,
It would just be one.
and we'd have to go back and get new projections from our reserve analyst.
Well, one extra one based on $4, but suppose half the people only want $2 up, and then you'd have to do another one, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Correct.
So what are you saying?
So if we just went with the committee's recommendation, when do we get to 70%?
29, 30.
29,
So not next year, but the following year.
3 years.
It was 26, 27,
Yeah.
2 years, you'll be at 70,
3 year.
72%.
I'm good with that.
Me too.
Me three.
Me for majority.
Okay, let's
So
settle
are
there.
we, is Are we voting?
Well, it sounds like it sounds like the board is asking that this budget that was presented today be what's presented at the February meeting for consideration?
Would be. We're outvoted.
And I'm just giving my opinion as an ignorant finance committee member, not a board member. Anyway, that's the reserves. And if there's no further questions, we are done with the expense portion of the budget. And thank you, actually, Greg, for bringing that up. That was made for lively conversation. So our expense total, by the way, is $7,001,714. We're now in the $7 million range. We have a $7 million budget for the first time. Just hit it, okay?
Gonna be talking real money one of these days.
We're talking real money now. So anyway, as you can see up there, it's even though it says like 368 rounded, that would be like the monthly cost per month as a monthly assessment. It's less at 356, and that's because of the income, which now I'm going to talk about now. That was a good segue. The other income. That's because of the other income. So why don't we switch over to the income now, and we could kind of get through it hopefully rather easily.
Chuck, just before you do that, I just looked up the CPI for our area last year was 4.5%.
Yeah, I saw that also. I looked it up, and like Jerry said, it was right in that range for our particular area, you know. Thank you, Pat, for that. So right now, our numbers are coming in, underneath that, which is a good thing. People had received a Social Security increase, I believe, of around 2.8, give or take. So it's coming in, that was a cost of living increase. So we're coming in a little bit lower right now, unless the board changes its mind. So we'll just go through the other income sections right now. And we'll start off with line 2. We no longer budget for this item under coupon fees. Homeowners are now required to purchase coupon books at their discretion for $15 a book. And then under line 3, account 4154. Now, this is golf course activity, and Jim had already made some discussion about it when we was talking about bad debt. He had mentioned the gate fees. This is what we call, under the income section, golf course activities. These are the fees levied to the golf course attributable to 1/4 or 25% of the maintenance and upkeep of the front gate. And as you know, we get an invoice every month, and it's in the $500–600 range. And then the next line, 4, is gate and access fees. These are, I have in parentheses, transponders. This line covers fees collected for transponders. We're trending slightly over budget for the first 8 months of the fiscal year, and we recommend that this line remain at $3,500. Key income, line 5. This line covers fees collected for keys to the pool as well as the pedestrian gates entering the community. We're tracking on budget for the first 8 months, and we recommend that this line also remain the same at $700. Move-in fees. Now, this is income received from new residents to cover the cost to the association for staff time during registration and the new resident orientation. It also includes items received upon registration, transponders, keys, stickers, etc. We're currently tracking right on budget for the first 8 months, and we recommend that this line remain the same at $38,000. Social activity fees. Now, earlier, I believe it was Jerry who talked about community activity fees, the ticketed events at $100,000. Well, this is the other offsetting account Jerry spoke about the expense portion. This is the income side. They're exactly the same because in a perfect universe, it would be more or less a wash. And this income account is, it expense offsets account 5200. And that's basically it for that. The next line 8 is landlord fees. We collect a modest fee of $100 from owner landlords who are using their lots as an investment opportunity. The fee is assessed every time there is a change of residency to offset administrative expenses related to that change. We're trending slightly below budget for the first 8 months, and we recommend that this line remain the same at $2,000. Salon rental. Now we're anticipating, because the board has traditionally done this, that the board is going to increase the lease by an additional $25 per month. This would result in an annual $300 increase, something the board has been doing for a number of years. So we have that going up $300 from $10,800 to $11,100. Now, I have an equity subsidy line in here under line 10, but this year we're not using it. If we were flush with a lot of equity, well over our safety net, it could be a consideration of keeping assessments lower. This year's not one of those years. Line 11 is collection processing fees. This is recoupment of hard costs that the association had previously incurred, such as delinquency letters, pre-lien letters, etc. The association always pursue reimbursement from delinquent accounts. Therefore, we are recommending this line remain at $5,000. NSF, non-sufficient fund service fee. This is the recovered cost from residents who have incurred non-sufficient fund bank charges. The association always pursues reimbursement for hard costs related to these charges. Therefore, we recommend this line remain the same in the next fiscal year at $1,000. Late fees and interest charges. This is revenue from the collection of late fees and interest on delinquent assessments. Because we're trending above budget for the first 8 months, the committee recommends that this line increase by $1,000 from $5,000 to $6,000 in the next fiscal year. Now, fines for CC&R violations. We are currently trending under budget for the first 8 months of the year.
What are you doing?
And we had $30,000 in there last year. And as you can see, for actuals, the prior year we collected $48,000, and before that we collected up almost $32,000. However, the committee is proposing that we reduce this line by $10,000 from $30,000 to $20,000 because as compliance goes up, less revenue is received on this line, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because we want compliance to go up and we don't want to have to rely on income from these type of sources. So we're reducing it by 33%, going from $30,000 to $20,000. Miscellaneous income, well, we typically do not budget for miscellaneous income. However, this line remains in the budget in the unlikely event that we do receive some kind of unbudgeted income. Last but not least, we have interest earned. Well, we're trending well for the first 8 months due to favorable interest rates in our CD investments. However, rates have been trending lower this past year. And according to our analyst at Stifel, he believes that trend is going to continue in the foreseeable future. Therefore, the committee, along with myself, are recommending that we decrease this from the budget of $35,504 last year to a little over $32,000 this year. And that concludes it. Our other income, which offsets our assessments, is $226,717. And we went down from last year. We're going down $12,087, which is a reduction of 0.2% in other income. Any questions? Well, if that's the case, then that would conclude the budget, detailed portion of the budget, and we could go on to the next session of the agenda. And I We'll now
Thank you,
punt
Chuck.
that to Kathy.
Does the board have any other questions of the committee? Do we have any comments from the members? Joanne? Did you have a comment? Okay. I think Greg's getting you a whatchamadiggin. Oop, is it on, Greg?
Touching your, okay. Joanne Deacon, Cordate Calanova. One of the things I think would be most important in figuring out the reserve numbers, as Greg brought up, is how much exactly do you intend to spend out of reserves this year? Because that makes a dramatic influence on how much you're going to have left at the end of the year. If you have an idea of what major projects you're going to be working on and how much that takes out of reserves, you'd have a better idea of what to put into reserves. I haven't seen that.
That's what the study does for us.
Yeah, when we're figuring out the contribution, we're looking at expenses that are in the process, expenses that have already happened, as well as future expenses to get us through the remainder of the fiscal year. And then after that, it relies on the study that is submitted for approval each year that has everything in its category at zero life. Those are the proposed projects for that fiscal year. So that's all calculated into these percentages that are projected over that 30-year period.
Exactly. Thank you.
Not exactly. That's based on looking at the reserves, and it says the carpet's due to be placed this year, so we're going to take that much out of reserves. There are a lot of other things that the board should be looking at in terms of a plan, a strategic long-range plan that says these are the major factors. What if the kitchen, if we at the golf course and we decide to redo the kitchen? I don't think that's in there because we don't exactly know, but we could figure it out. There are a lot of things I think the board might want to do, but they won't come up until the middle of the year. And as you know with reserves, some things are okay to put off for a year or two or 5 years, some aren't. I'm not sure all that study was done to any conclusion.
Thank you, Joanne. Well, I think, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'd like to thank the committee for putting in all the time. I know it takes so much time and effort to do that, and you guys just do a yeoman's job, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I do want to mention, you guys were talking about that new name that we have for that one GL code that used to be closed circuit TV is now Technology Services. Well, Paul Nelson was the author of that name, and we're going to put a plaque to it on the wall because of it.
Thank you.
So anyway, just wanted to give Paul some kudos on that.
Thank you, Chuck. Very thorough presentation. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Okay.